Hello, and welcome to another episode of This is Rico, trying to heal my inner child. Now, this episode is a little um, out of the timeline from where I was before. I'm trying to just kind of go through my life events, um, you know, in stages. But I haven't I haven't seen my parents and or spoke to them in probably close to 5 years. And ever since I started making these videos, I started to have a little bit of hope that after all these years, that maybe things would be different. I had heard stories that he's not doing well, and she's doing everything for him, and they have to rely on other people to come get groceries for them or do stuff for them. And quite honestly, they should be in assisted living. They really should, but they are too stubborn to even admit that they need any kind of help like that. Now, the reason I've stayed away is pretty evident in all of these videos. Even though I'm only halfway through my life, things don't really change ever. Even when I'm an adult, even when I'm married and have my own house, I'm still talked. I'm still treated like a child, like a dumb child. And for the sake of my own mental health, I had to stay away. It's either one or the other. I I feel like the guilt I feel for not seeing them is less than the guilt that they put on me when I do see them. And if anybody out there doesn't understand and doesn't even try to understand, I don't expect you to understand. You weren't there. You don't know what it was like for me. You don't know what our relationship was like. And again, I can only talk about my own experience, but this is what I experienced, and this is what happened to me. I really hoped that things would be different. I hoped that we could reconcile. That's all I ever want is whenever I have an issue with somebody, anybody, I try to reconcile it because it sits really heavy on my heart. Like I need to tell you how I feel. I need to tell you what's happening in here. And I was skeptical because I don't know. I have hopes and then there's reality. And they never really quite come together. So I decided to pay my parents a visit yesterday. Again, I haven't talked to them in almost 5 years. My dad just turned 91 and my mom is 85, and they're not doing well. He is not. He's not well. I'm not going to get into details, but he needs help. And a little part of me inside thought maybe I could help. I need help. Maybe we could work together. Maybe. That's what I thought. Never really considering all outcomes, never really considering everybody else's attitudes. But I thought we're all in need. You guys could really use some help. I could use some help. Maybe we can come together and, thought for a split second that I could maybe move in and just help them out and it would help me out. But that was what I thought. I'm going to take a quick break and I will be right back with a little more. This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. Welcome back to This is Rico, trying to heal my inner child. Getting back to my recent visit, which was honestly yesterday. So the reason I need to talk about it is because it's very fresh and I need to talk my way through it. Now, I forgot to mention in the other segment, but I want to remind everyone I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a medical professional in any way. I'm just a regular person trying to navigate through life and navigate what's going on in here. And to be honest, I can only talk about what's in here. I can only talk about what's in my head. I can only talk about how I felt. I can only talk about my own experiences on all of this. I don't mean to imply that anyone is malicious. I don't want to imply that they do things on purpose, but they do what they do. And I can't do anything about that except deal with it and talk about it. Now, getting back to my parents, I had gone over to visit with them, and they need help. They really do. But they're both too proud. I told them 10 years ago, I told them 15 years ago, and I told them 20 years ago that they need to sell that house and get something smaller, much easier to manage. They don't need that big giant basement. They don't need 3 bedrooms. They could get a ranch somewhere. But honestly, it was easier for them to argue with me than to even consider anything like that. Not to mention the don't tell me what to do attitude. I could never make a suggestion without it being handled in a don't tell me what to do manner. Like everything. When I was separated in '06 and I stayed with them and I just made little suggestions about their kitchen because it was a little crowded in there. Why can't we move this and why can't we put these up and why can't we and no. I like it like this. Why are you no don't tell me what to do. And that was it. That was it. There was never discussion. There was never let's talk about it or let's consider it. No, none. None. So I didn't even get that far. I didn't even get to even bring that up. The visit started very cordial. They were both happy to see me, although my dad thought I was my brother because just because. And my mom was happy to see me, and the visit was very nice for the first maybe 10 minutes. All I did manage to do was ask if I could maybe store some of my possessions in their basement. They have this big, giant, empty basement with a lot of space. And at first, they were like, yeah, okay. So I went downstairs to go take a look at the basement, see what it was like. You could tell that there had been water in certain spots. And I could hear them talking upstairs. And it was like a switch went off. Like somebody flipped a switch. And when I came back upstairs, suddenly everything was sour. My dad is, oh, I have a lot of stuff down in the basement. And then he said in a nonchalant way, well, I don't want your stuff to get ruined and then you send me a bill. Like he thinks I'm gonna charge him. I'm gonna make him pay for my stuff if it gets ruined. And then it just from there just gradually got worse. But I'm gonna take a quick break and I'll be right back with a little more of this episode of This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. Welcome back to This is Rico, trying to heal my inner child. Just dealing with my recent visit. And getting back to that, I'd mentioned before that I was downstairs just checking out the basement, seeing maybe where I could put my stuff, store it for a little while. And I could hear them talking. And when I come back upstairs, like I had mentioned, it was like a switch had gone off, and they started to become very negative about everything. Like I don't understand it. I mentioned to them that I am going on 8 years of no alcohol. 8 years that I have not had alcohol. Not a single drop has touched my lips. But she wanted to be disappointed because I smoke. Because I smoke. She was disappointed at that. Could not even have a nice comment about no alcohol. Because alcohol is legal. So, what's the big deal? So I tried to keep it cordial still, and showed her a picture of Elvira. Check out my cat. And when I did that, my dad heard me say cat and loudly, no dogs, no cats. I'm allergic. Okay, I'm just showing you a picture of my cat. And I think he was under the impression that I was moving in. I think. I never mentioned it. It was never brought up. I had only asked about using the basement at this point. So he starts with that. I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'm not bringing the cat here. And she sees the picture and she sees that she's a black cat and is again in her. The only way she can do it is to be disappointed with everything. Oh, why didn't you get a white cat? Why do I have to get a white cat? What's the difference between a white cat and a black cat? I mean, obviously, she was not paying attention to my wardrobe because I have effectively changed my wardrobe so that I only wear black. Only. And it's not that hard. It's very, very easy to do. And then for some reason, she brought up my hair, of course. And I was talking about it and I took my hat off and she laughed at me because, oh, your hair, you're thinning. You're going to go bald. Oh, you're thinning. Instead of just being happy that I have what I have. And this is when I really, really started to think that I had made a mistake. So then after a little bit, they start telling me that they get water in the basement, which is obvious. They've always gotten water in that stupid basement. And suddenly, I don't want your stuff to get ruined. I don't want your stuff to get ruined. And I think that was their subtle way of telling me no. But what was not so subtle was what she said immediately after that. My mom just said, well, I don't want any of your friends coming over here. I said, what friends? Your friends. I don't want your friends here. I don't want any of your friends here. Remember you used to have a lot of friends. I don't want them here. And I was shocked. I was just like, I never mentioned bringing friends over. I never mentioned that at all. I don't know where that came from. But suddenly now she's afraid of all of my friends coming over and trying to hurt them and rob them. So if you're one of my friends, then obviously you're not welcome at my parents' house. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. I know it's disappointing. But I'm going to take another quick break, and I'll be back with a little more. This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. Welcome back to This is Rico, trying to heal my inner child. Um, and I'm really trying. He's pretty damaged. He is my child, my inner child. He's pretty beat up, and just trying to help him up, trying to brush him off, trying to get up and move forward. But I feel like I was that little boy again yesterday. Now, getting back to the conversation with my parents, she was worried about my friends. She is talking about people that I hung out with like 30 years ago, maybe more. Friends that would come over and hang out in the basement with me and my brother. But I've never had any people at their house after I moved out. And I moved out in 97. I never brought anybody over to their house. But for some reason, she had to make a point to tell me that she didn't want any of my friends over. And I had no idea what she was even talking about. So at this point, I started getting frustrated. And as mad as I get, as frustrated as I get, as upset as I get, I always keep a civil tongue in my mouth. Even though I wanted to blow up and use all the bad words, I didn't. I just calmly said, look, if it's a problem, if you guys don't want me to do this, I don't have to do this. I can go somewhere else. And she was like, no, it's okay. But I couldn't take anymore at that point. Like, I had to leave. I just stopped the conversation and said, look, I have to go. I don't have time. I have to leave. And, you know, I don't remember what was said at that point. They asked me to check their mail because, you know, they need help. So I went and checked their mail and then I left. But at that point, it's okay, and even he kept making comments like, well, you can't go through the garage. My car is in there. A car he hasn't driven in years. Years. I think he's too stubborn to sell it. He's too stubborn to sell the car that he doesn't even use. He's too stubborn to sell the house that he doesn't need. He's too stubborn to listen to anybody else's opinions about anything. Maybe a suggestion, trying to help him out. He's not going to listen to any of it. In fact, if you ask him about selling that car, he'll hold on to that car out of spite. He had a car that was a junker that he had for parts sitting in the driveway. And every time his neighbor asked him what he was going to do with that car, he claimed he was going to leave it there for another year just because that guy asked about it. Out of spite. He was very spite driven with a lot of his actions and a lot of his attitudes and a lot of his behavior. And I left disappointed, dejected, rejected, feeling lower than low, feeling like I did something wrong, feeling guilty because they were getting all upset, feeling like it was my fault, like I had done something. So I immediately called my sister. And my sister is the only one that really, really knows what it was like. She's really the only one that I talk to anymore. In fact, she said she's going to be my surrogate mom, and I appreciate her and I love her for that. But we had a very interesting conversation. We talked for 45 minutes. I just had to talk about it because I was either that or I was gonna blow up. Like I could feel my heart was gonna jump out of my throat. So I had to talk about it. And that's the reason I'm making these videos today, is because I need to talk about it while it's fresh. But I'm going to continue this story in the next video of This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. I thank you, and I will be back very, very soon.